Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine a future where AI agents aren't just tools, but almost like autonomous colleagues, making decisions, running tasks, maybe even cooking up new strategies for your business.
It's a powerful idea.
The potential is just immense, right? But it brings up this really crucial question that probably keeps a lot of leaders up at night. How do we actually trust these agents?
Yeah.
Today, we're digging into how companies, the leading ones, are tackling that exact challenge, making sure AI agents work well, sure, but also safely, responsibly.
That really is the heart of it. Ritika Gunnar over at IBM, she's the general manager for data and AI. She put it pretty starkly. When these autonomous systems aren't properly governed or secured, they can carry steep consequences.
That's steep consequences.
It's not just about preventing things from going wrong. It's about getting all those productivity wins without opening the door to, potentially catastrophic new risks. So our focus today is really understanding that balancing act.
Okay, and for this deep dive, we're looking at a recent announcement from IBM. They've unveiled some new software. They're calling it Industry First, designed specifically to bring together governance and security for these agents.
Right, a unified approach.
Exactly. So our mission is to unpack what that unified approach really means, for AI's future, why it's so important for businesses, and what specific stuff is actually involved. What are these new capabilities? So yeah, let's get into it.
Sounds good.
So maybe start broad. What does it actually mean to integrate AI security and governance? And, for a big company, why is bringing those two together so critical now, especially with agents becoming more common?
Well, it's interesting because historically you might have your AI governance folks over here and your security team over there.
Right, separate silos.
Exactly. Both doing vital work, definitely. But often their processes, their tools, they just don't quite mesh perfectly. And now, with AI adoption moving so fast, especially these autonomous agents, that disconnect, it becomes a real problem.
How so?
Well, it makes it much harder to connect the dots, to translate some security incident or maybe a compliance slip-up into what it actually means for the business in terms of risk. Jennifer Glenn, she's a research director at IDC's Security and Trust Group. She really nailed this.
Okay.
She said, bringing AI governance together with AI security gives organizations the necessary context to find and prioritize risks, and crucially, as well as the information to clearly communicate the consequences of not addressing them.
So context and communication. Makes sense.
Precisely. And IBM's answer here is this integration. They're connecting their watsonx.governance tool, that's their end-to-end governance platform, with Guardium AI security.
Which is focused purely on the security side.
Right. Securing the models themselves, the data they use, how they're being used.
Yeah.
It's really about, like you said, breaking down those walls between the teams and the functions.
Breaking down walls. All right. So integration is the goal. But how do you actually do that? What are the specific capabilities that make this work? Especially when you think about tricky things like shadow agents just popping up.
Yeah, that's a huge concern. And that's where these new capabilities in Guardium AI security come in. First off, they've teamed up with a company called alltrue.ai.
Okay.
And that partnership helps them detect completely new AI uses, even across really decentralized places. Think, cloud platforms, internal code bases, even embedded systems. AI can show up anywhere.
So visibility first. See what's out there.
Exactly. Broad visibility. Then second, and this is really the key to that integration piece, once Guardium AI security spots one of these new AI use cases, it can automatically kick off the right governance workflows over in watsonx.governance.
Okay. So it's not just an alert, it's an action.
Precisely. It's that direct connection. Security finds something, governance process starts, no manual steps needed there.
Right.
It also does automated red teaming.
Red teaming, like ethical hacking.
Sort of, yeah. It's basically simulating attacks to find vulnerabilities before the bad guys do. Doing that automatically and constantly for AI is vital because these things learn and change, right? New weaknesses can emerge.
Makes sense. Continuous testing.
And then you can also set up your own custom security policies. These look at both the inputs and the outputs, the prompts going in and the answers coming out to catch risks like code injection or sensitive data getting exposed or data leaking out.
Right. Checking both ends.
Exactly. Suja Viswasan, she's VP of Security and Runtime Products at IBM. She put it really well. Embedding security from the start is essential to protecting data, supporting compliance obligations, and building lasting trust.
So embedding it from the start.
That's the idea. And these specific security features, they're available now. The The full, deeper integration between the two platforms, that's rolling out through the rest of this year.
Okay, so spotting things early, preventing issues, that's critical. But the real test, I guess, is when these agents are actually running, doing their thing. How do we go beyond those initial checks to make sure they're, consistently behaving the way we expect, especially with compliance always looming?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that brings us to the enhanced lifecycle governance piece within watsonx.governance. It's really designed for that ongoing monitoring and management.
Life cycle, so from start to finish.
Exactly. From when an agent is first being developed all the way through deployment and operation. And a really neat innovation here is building what they call evaluation nodes right into the agents.
Evaluation nodes, like little checkpoints.
Kind of, yeah. Think of them as built-in feedback mechanisms. They let you constantly track key things like answer relevance. Is the agent actually giving useful answers?
Right. Is it on topic?
Or context relevance and faithfulness. Is it sticking to facts? Is it hallucinating? This kind of detailed monitoring helps you figure out why an agent might be messing up, find the root cause quickly.
That sounds powerful. Measuring relevance and faithfulness directly.
It is. And they're planning more, too. By, looks like June 27th, they expect to add things like risk assessments specifically for onboarding new agents, full audit trails for agents, and even a catalog for agentic tools. Just more ways to manage them systematically.
That makes a lot of sense, especially for managing them over time. But, with AI changing so fast, how tough is it to make those evaluation metrics today that are still going to be useful in, say, 6 months or a year? And speaking of tough things, regulations. You mentioned compliance, the EU AI Act, all these new rules. That's a massive headache for companies. How does the solution help there?
That's a really sharp question about the metrics evolving. And yeah, it highlights why you need that constant monitoring and adaptability. And it flows right into the compliance side because that's where these watsonx.governance compliance accelerators come in. They're a huge help.
Compliance accelerators, what do they do?
Basically, they come freeloaded with specific regulations, standards, frameworks from all over the world.
Okay, like which ones?
Well, specific examples they mentioned include the EU AI Act, which is obviously huge, but also things like the U.S. Federal Reserve's SR 11-7, New York City's Local Law 144, global standards like ISO 42001, and important frameworks like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, the AI RMF.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of the big ones.
Yeah, the key ones. And what these accelerators do is help you figure out which parts of these complex regulations actually apply to your specific AI use case. Then it helps you map those obligations directly onto your AI projects.
So it translates the legalese into practical steps.
Pretty much. It massively simplifies what would otherwise be an incredibly complex and frankly time-consuming job. Imagine trying to manually cross-reference the EU Act and NIST and everything else every time you build a new agent.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
These accelerators aim to turn potentially months of work into, well, maybe just a few clicks. It's like having a specialized AI legal advisor built in. And this is available now as an add-on feature.
That sounds incredibly useful. Okay, so IBM's built some pretty powerful tools here, it seems. But let's be real, software isn't a magic wand, right? You always hear about the human element, the need for actual expertise. Where do people fit into making this all work, scaling AI responsibly? And how does IBM support that?
That is absolutely critical. You're spot on. Software gives you the structure, the automation, but it's people who provide that strategic thinking, nuanced judgment. And that's why IBM Consulting Cybersecurity Services is launching new services alongside this. They're basically combining the tech, like Guardium AI Security, with deep AI know-how and specific industry consulting.
So bridging the gap between the tool and the strategy.
Exactly. They're there to help organizations through that whole AI journey. From just finding all the AI they might already have deployed.
The shadow AI again.
Right. Finding that, identifying risks, then helping implement secure by design approaches across the board. And also, crucially, providing guidance on navigating that ever-changing regulatory maze we just talked about.
Okay, so practical help too.
Yeah, and they mentioned having experience already with clients like Nationwide Building Society and E&L, so they've got a track record in this space. It's not just theory.
So from spotting hidden AI to handling global rules to getting expert help, it really does sound like a very comprehensive, integrated approach. And you mentioned it's expanding geographically too. WatsonX.governance on AWS in India.
That's right. They noted WatsonX.governance is now also available on AWS data centers in India, and it includes enhanced model monitoring there too. So, yeah, they're definitely aiming for broad reach.
It really paints a picture of trying to help businesses not just, use agentic AI, but actually thrive with it safely and securely.
That seems to be the goal.
So wrapping things up a bit, our deep dive today has really unpacked how IBM is trying to build this integrated, comprehensive way to secure and govern AI agents. The whole idea seems to be accelerating the good stuff from generative AI, but, doing it the right way, responsibly, securely.
Exactly. And, as these AI agents get smarter, more embedded in everything we do, the actual meaning of security and governance for AI,
Yeah.
well, that's going to keep changing too, isn't it?
Yeah, a moving target.
Definitely. So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. Looking ahead, say, the next few years, what new kinds of challenges do you see popping up as agents get even more sophisticated? And how these kinds of integrated approaches need to adapt and evolve just to keep pace, let alone stay ahead of the curve?